So I want you to take a moment to think, what is it that is armor? What in my life is armor protecting me from letting myself truly be seen and letting me be all of myself? We're back, baby, with a brand new season of the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast. Join us each week as we have unfiltered conversations about how to transform your life. Our mission is to usher in a new era of spirituality where you don't have to be all love and light to live a life of alignment. Here, we honor all of it, the profound and the profane, the magic and the messy, and all things that make you human. So let's discuss the truth behind transformation and be unapologetic in our evolution. From manifestation to money, embodiment to energy, and all taboo topics, nothing is going to be off limits. Are you ready to live a life that feels just as good as it looks? Let's get fucking spiritual. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to another episode of the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast, a solo episode today. And I want to talk about something that is super alive in my life, and I think also will be helpful for you. And that is entering our soft girl era, soft woman era. Just a softening. And before I go into the 5 principles of living your soft girl era, I want to give you a little bit of an update of how this has been showing up in my life, because I think it's always helpful when we hear reflections of ourselves in other people's stories, and you can know that you are not alone in struggling in being in your masculine, or being in, like, from coming from a boss babe era, or like you're just not alone in what you're going through, because I definitely go through it. And if you've been here long enough, you have definitely seen my evolution. And as you know, because I talk about it on the podcast all the time, I've been going through a journey of softening into my feminine energy. And I existed in my masculine for a very long time. And masculine energy is the energy of drive and hustle and pushing and like going for it and striving to achieve and being on mission and purpose. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's amazing. However, when it comes from a place of lack, when it comes from a need to prove, or it comes from a survival mechanism or a place of your nervous system being activated, it leads to burnout. It leads to resentment. It leads to stress. And it doesn't lead to polarizing, hot, sexy relationships with men, if you want a relationship with men, with a man, or just polarizing in your relationships, period. Doesn't matter, man, same sex, whatever that looks like for you. And yeah, it's so interesting because I am in a partnership that has illuminated a lot for me in this season of my life, of all of the areas where I still get to open and to soften and to receive and to be cared for. And it is, when you go on a journey, let me just, like, this is a side note. When you go on a journey and you have a realization, right? You have an awareness and you are on your evolution and you're learning, maybe this is your spiritual journey, right? You have a spiritual awakening, you start to listen to the podcast, maybe you hang out with me on here, you go search for answers, and you're like, yeah, I'm doing the thing. And then you're like deep into the journey, and then you realize, oh my gosh, there are so many levels and layers to this. That is what has been happening for me over the winter season. I've been on the journey for almost 2 years now of my feminine and nervous system regulation and somatics. And I literally teach that in my program Expand, which you can check out in the show notes below. And yet I feel like I've had the biggest realizations of my life. One of them being, and I'll tell you what I'm doing in my life right now. And again, you do not have to do this in your life. This is what felt true to me. If you're watching this on video, I'll put my hand to the camera. You will see I have a bunch of hand tattoos. I have them all over my arms. I have 28 tattoos total. And I got them throughout my 20s. And I love tattoos. Okay, this is not me hating on tattoos, let me be clear. But I got them from an energy of rebellion and You can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me that, I can't get hand tattoos. It was a very much a rebellious rebellion against corporate life. It was a rebellion against my father who told me I could never get tattoos. And it was a hardness of energy. Now, if you have a ton of tattoos, I'm not saying that yours came from a hard place, but mine did. And I love them. And yet, in my softening, I'm getting all my tattoos removed because I realized they were armor in my life and how I was showing up in relationship or trying to lead with, look at how much I've achieved on my podcast and look how much, my online business has done and all these kinds of things. I would lead with that when dating. And I realized like there was so much that I did that was armor keeping me from vulnerability, keeping me from intimacy, keeping me from my feminine, and keeping me from the life I actually wanted. Now, think into your life. Where are places that you have armor keeping you from being seen? And maybe it's not tattoos for you. Maybe it's something completely different. Um, Maybe it's the way that you show up in partnership. Maybe it's the way you're avoidant and run away. Maybe it's the way you try to control scenarios and situations. Maybe it's the way you get really anxious when you don't know the outcome. Um, Maybe it's the way you don't let yourself be seen in that online business you really want to create. Maybe it's the ways you self sabotage and create unnecessary suffering and struggle. So I want you to take a moment to think, what is it that is armor? What in my life is armor protecting me from letting myself truly be seen and letting me be all of myself? So I'm in a season of taking off my armor, and quite frankly, I also feel that I'm taking off my armor with all of you. If you knew me from the first season of It's Fucking Spiritual, and even the podcast name, don't get me wrong, It's Fucking Spiritual, I think is a fire name. Let me just say, but it was born out of a hardness of energy and a place of rebellion. And maybe one day we'll change the name when it comes to me. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like right now. I still also love it. So I struggle with that. And I'm letting you guys into that. Like I'm on this journey of evolution with you. And I'm questioning things and I'm questioning the motives I had for things or the way that not that really the motives, but the place that something was born out of, the energetics, right? And so I encourage you to take a fierce look at where you might have armor or hardness in your life. And yeah, I feel like I've had a hardness and armor of the way I've showed up even here, protecting my personal life or protecting myself from being fully vulnerable, just teaching the concepts as I was changing and growing and shedding. And I'm really excited because this year I'm really feel myself opening my heart back up to all of you. And the last thing I'll say with that before we get into the principles is we go through seasons of expansion and contraction, and we can't just expect ourselves to be a new way of being, right? You can't have been operating in your masculine for so long and then suddenly be like, I'm going to be soft and feminine. Like it just doesn't work like that. There's a breakdown before the breakthrough. There is a dismantling of entire belief systems and ways of being and ways of operating. And it happens slowly and incrementally. And we get to support ourselves and support our nervous system and come back into our own bodies over and over and over and over again. And you will see incremental small shifts in your life. And it is confronting to do this work, and it can change your identity as it is with mine. I'm having an identity, a whole thing with my identity, getting everything, getting all my tattoos removed and questioning, uh, the ways I used to present myself to the world. And what's also exciting about that is every time you have a breakdown and every time you're shedding layers of yourself, you also are making space for the more of you to be seen and also for you to reinvent and create a new way of being that feels more true to you in this season. So I want to give you the 5 principles that I came up with for living a soft girl era. Briefly interrupting this episode for a very special announcement. If you are someone that has been loving this podcast, that you love this work, you really are ready to deepen in your own feminine embodiment journey, you are ready to expand your capacity to receive abundance and what you desire in your life, and you want to do it all in sisterhood, and you want to travel out of the country. Drum roll, please. I invite you to join us in Costa Rica in May of 2025. We have officially opened the doors for our Costa Rican Expanded Woman Retreat, where we are going to spend 5 days and 5 nights together in the jungle of Costa Rica and just go really deep together in sisterhood. So if you have desired to attend one of the It's Fucking Spiritual retreats and you want to join us in Costa Rica, it is going to be such an incredible time. There's going to be organic food. There's going to be deep workshops and so much bonding and sisterhood and beach bonfires and excursions and all of the things. And honestly, you guys, every single time that I have taken the leap and gone to something in person, my first ever retreat as an attendee was in Costa Rica. And that is where this podcast idea was actually born. And so every single time that I have chosen to take the leap and I've gone somewhere in person alone and nervous and ready for my expansion, there is so much transformation on the other side. It is honestly how I have built my life, has been from taking multiple days to go really deep, to receive reflections in sisterhood, and to really claim what I want out of life. And I invite you to do that with us if it's something that's calling you. This is by application only. So definitely go and fill out the application in the show notes. There's going to be so much information about the retreat, the dates, pricing, all of that in that application, and go and take a look. And if it's calling you, definitely apply. Even if you're on the fence, definitely apply and we will review your application. And if you have any questions, you can email us at support@rachelgibler.com. And we hope that we will get the chance to meet you in Costa Rica in May. Number 1, we do not struggle. Do you guys hear? There's like a beeping on the computer. See, this is a part of the soft girl life, okay? We're not going to struggle. We're not going to stress. We're not going to overwork. We're not going to stress ourselves out. And a lot of this comes down to, because I can hear you now be like, what do you mean? Life feels hard. I'm stressed out. But I have to work and I have to provide for myself. And like all of the excuses, okay, there's going to be excuses that are going to come up for you in your life in this moment of why this won't work for you. And I've had all of the excuses in the book as well. I want to invite you to just try this on and to know that working with regulating your nervous system, healing your trauma, healing through somatic work, letting your emotions, allowing yourself to feel your emotions and process your emotions, that is the key. That is the core of the work. That is my program, Expand. Check it out in the show notes. Okay. Number 1, soft girl era, we drop the struggle. We don't create unnecessary suffering. And you will. You're going to go into it and you're going to realize like, oh my gosh, I'm struggling again. I'm creating a story and bring yourself back down into your breath. Hold your body. That's just your inner child being activated, and remind yourself, in this soft girl season, I'm not going to struggle. I know these stories seem really convincing and really activating. I'm not going to struggle. I'm not going to subscribe to that life. I'm not going to subscribe to things being hard. It's a mindset and an energy that you get to hold in your body and practice as you support your body, as you support your nervous system. It's not just enough to think this if your body is in fight or flight. Okay. That's why we need nervous system tools. Number 2, in the soft girl era, we detach from the outcome. You will gain so much power back in your life when you detach, when you stop trying to claw and grip at the things that you want to happen, grip at that relationship, grip of why that guy didn't text you back, grip on what's happening with your business or what's happening at work, and like all of the outcomes and all of the things. Drop the struggle, detach from the outcome. with detaching from the outcome, and I know that like that's so much easier said than done. It literally is a practice. And that goes into number 3, which is you have to trust what is for you will not pass you. That is how you detach from the outcome. You have to trust. If they're not meant for me, then something better is coming along. If I'm not meant to do this, I will be redirected. You have to trust that redirection is protection for you. That's what it is to work on your self worth. That is what it is to work on caring for yourself, which we'll get to. You have to surrender to the timeline of your life. Stop comparing yourself so much to everybody else that you see on the internet, to everybody else that you see in your life. Why am I not there? And Susie's doing this and she's already married. Or, if you're single, right? And you're like looking at everybody else that's married, you have to trust and surrender the timeline of your life. If that's something that you want, right? Rather than comparing yourself, and realize that what is for you will not pass you. Every single thing that is meant to happen for you is happening in perfect timing for you because you are getting prepared to become the woman that you are meant to become. And do you want to do that hard? Do you want to do that angry? Do you want to do that gripping and controlling? Or do you want to do that from a soft, surrendered energy? And let life flow through you and to you. You don't have to hustle out and get. You have to decide, okay, I'm going to support myself. I'm going to support my body. I'm going to support my inner child. I'm going to support my way of being. I'm going to surrender to the timeline of my own life. And as a side note, if you're having a hard time surrendering to the timeline, look at everything that's good in your life right now. Because if you are having a hard time gripping to where you are at and wanting to be somewhere else, it's because you're coming from a place of lack and you're not actually counting the blessings. You're not actually counting how far you've come. So I want you to get out a piece of paper and write out all of the things that you love about yourself, all of the things that you love about your life, all of the things that you're so proud of, all of the things that feel so good and nourishing to you. And look at all of the things that are around you and really breathe it in and let it land in your body. Trust and surrender to the flow. Number 4, soft girls, soft women in our soft girl era have a devotion to their body, have a devotion to your own care. For the longest time in my 20s, I treated my body like shit. And I think a lot of us do that. Not everyone. I mean, some people could have the opposite, right? You could be like counting every single every single calorie that's like going into your body, right? And having a grip and control. Again, that's still a shadow side, right? You're not treating your body with care, with reverence, with what she needs. And this is in many, many different ways. That is what you fuel your body with, how you're caring for your sleep, how you're caring for your skin, what are your routines, how are you caring for, it's also how are you caring for your time? What are you giving your attention to? So it's not just devotion to your body, it's like devotion to your resources and putting that above all else, putting yourself first, putting your devotion to what you want your day to feel like, devotion to what you want to do. Um, and going back to devotion to your body, it's like, who do you share your body with and when? Who do you share your story with? It's about being more discerning around your boundaries, around um, your boundaries with yourself, not just with other people, but with yourself. Um, it's like calling back your energy. So again, going back to detaching from the outcome, if you have a hard time detaching from the outcome, call your energy back and go into more self-care. Go into more, what do I need for myself in this moment? What does my body need? What would be nourishing for me? Another practice, sit down and literally list 10 things that nourish your body and that make you feel really good or nourish your soul. So that could look like journaling, eating healthy, going for a walk, going to a dance class. And then 10 things that are fun. So calling a friend, like maybe going to a dance class is fun for you, right? Anything that cultivates a sense of fun and then cultivates a sense of care, and be in devotion to that. And every single time that you notice that you get anxious about an outcome, you get anxious about not getting a text back, you get anxious about your relationship, you get anxious about something that's outside of yourself, come back to that list, come back to your devotion, and refocus your energy. And number 5, in our soft feminine era, we practice deep acceptance. Deep acceptance of where we are right now in this moment, without creating stories about the past, without creating stories about the future. In this soft feminine essence, she's in the present. She's in her body, right? It's about, instead of being so in the head and in the mind, it's about getting into the body and noticing how you feel, and having deep acceptance for how you feel in the moment without changing it. The feminine and the soft feminine has range. It doesn't mean being soft and like meek or small. I am not that at all. I've got range. I've got depth. I've got anger. I've got Kali energy. I could burn the whole world to the ground energy sometimes. If that's true to you in the moment, have it. Don't wish it away. Don't wish it was different. Don't try to change it and change yourself. Have deep acceptance for where you are right now in this moment and what you feel, and allow yourself to actually feel it. And if you don't know what that means, I teach that in my somatic embodiment program, Expand, which I mentioned a few times. And yeah, I feel this energy of all of us desiring to soften in this next season and in this year, and let go of our grip and our force and our control and the reins. Because the thing is, like, we don't have control. We don't have control of the outcome. We don't have control if someone leaves us. We don't have control about what's going to happen. We don't have control about the big things or the small things. But what we can control is our devotion to ourselves, our devotion to what we want to create, how we want to feel. And we can honor ourselves and our bodies and our emotions. And we can drop the struggle. Because what we resist, have you ever heard what we resist persists? Well, what we resist is what makes life hard. But when we can be in acceptance and flow of it, and believe me, it's really easy for me to say this to you right now on a podcast. It's not so easy in practice. It's simple, but it's not easy. But when you have tools, when you have practices, when you do somatic work, when you connect to your breath, when you know how to regulate your nervous system, it gets easier. And incrementally, you get better over time. So with that, I hope that is helpful for you. I hope that you take this with you. I hope that you do these exercises. And yeah, I'm looking forward to being on the soft girl era with you. And with that, I love you, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for listening to the It's Fucking Spiritual podcast. I am so glad that you're here. And if this episode resonated with you, I invite you to share this with a friend that you feel needs to hear it. And if you are really feeling the love and support for this show, this podcast thrives off of your listens and your reviews. So I would love if you could leave us an honest review. We would love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, your questions, and it helps us get this podcast in the hands of more people and would mean so much to me to receive your support. So thank you.